The year was 2147. Humans had spread out across many star systems. They built quiet colonies, grew food, raised families, and traded with other species. They did not start fights. Most aliens saw this and thought humans were weak or afraid. The Krell Dominion fought the same. The Krell were tall insects with hard shells and sharp minds. They liked order. They liked control. For many years they watched humans move into new areas near their space. The Krell leaders did not like it. They decided it was time to show who was stronger. Their biggest ship was called the Vanguard of Order. It was long and black, covered in sharp points like thorns. Inside, Captain Vexlar stood on the bridge. His red eyes looked at the main screen. The screen showed a small system with one green planet and a tiny moon circling it. According to our maps, Vexlar said in his clicking voice, "This moon holds a human mining post. No people live on the planet below. We will fire one shot. We will destroy the moon. They will learn to stay away from our borders." The weapons officer moved his claws over the controls. "Plasma lance ready, Captain. Target locked." "Fire," Vexlar ordered. A bright white beam shot from the front of the Vanguard. It crossed the dark space in seconds. The beam hit the small moon perfectly. For a moment, the moon glowed bright. Then it broke apart. Chunks of rock turned to hot gas. A cloud of shining dust spread out like a new ring around the planet. The bridge crew made happy clicks. "Direct hit. Target destroyed," one officer said. Vexlar nodded. "Good. Send the message to Earth. Tell them this is only a warning. Next time we aim lower." But then the sensors started beeping loud. Red lights flashed across every screen. The science officer looked up fast. His antenna shook. "Captain, we have a problem." "What is it?" Vexlar asked. "The planet below. It is not empty. Life signs everywhere. Cities. Heat from farms and factories. 8 million humans live there. This is New Horizon Colony." The bridge went quiet. Even the machines seemed to stop breathing. Vexlar stared at the screen. The green planet turned slowly. Lights from cities sparkled on the night side like tiny stars. He felt cold inside his shell. "We fired at the wrong world," he whispered. Down on New Horizon the night was calm. People ate dinner. Children played outside. In Capital City, Governor Lisa Harper sat in her office on the top floor of the government building. She was drinking coffee and reading reports about the next harvest. Suddenly, every alarm in the city screamed at once. Red lights flashed through the windows. Lisa jumped up. She ran to the window. High in the sky, a second sun appeared for a moment. Then it faded, leaving a glowing cloud where the small moon used to be. It was her security chief. "Governor, orbital defense just confirmed. A Krell plasma lance hit the moon. Debris is falling. Some pieces will hit the surface in 20 minutes. Lisa felt her stomach turn. "Casualties?" "Not yet. But the moon was our early warning relay. Half our satellites are gone. We are blind on the dark side." Lisa took a deep breath. "Get me a line to Earth. Priority 1. Tell them the Krell just attacked us." In space far away, the USS Liberty floated near Jupiter. It was the flagship of the human fleet. Admiral John Carter stood on the bridge. He was tall, with gray hair and calm blue eyes. He was talking to his officers about new engine tests when the emergency signal came in. The communications officer turned. "Admiral, urgent from New Horizon. They say the Krell fired on them." John walked to the main screen. The message played. Governor Lisa Harper's face appeared. She looked serious, but steady. "Admiral Carter, at 22:47 Standard Time, a Krell ship destroyed our small moon with a plasma lance. They called it a warning shot. Our colony was never the target, but now debris is falling. We have 8 million people here. We need help, fast." The screen went dark. John looked at his executive officer, Commander Daniel Brooks. Daniel was younger, with short brown hair and quick mind. Daniel spoke first. They think we are soft. They think one big gun makes them safe. John nodded slowly. They made a mistake. A very big mistake. He turned to the crew. Sound general quarters. Bring the fleet to ready status. Wake up every ship in the reserve yards. I want jump coordinates for Epsilon sector in 1 hour. The bridge filled with movement. Officers gave orders. Screens showed ship icons lighting up across the solar system. John looked back at the star map. New Horizon glowed bright in the center. He thought about the families there, the schools, the fields, the normal lives that were never supposed to see war. They wanted to scare us, he said quietly. They wanted to show power. He looked at Daniel. But they forgot something important. Daniel raised an eyebrow. What is that, sir? John's voice was calm, but hard like steel. Humans do not like being scared, and when someone hurts our home, we answer. Far away, on the vanguard of order, Captain Vexlar still stared at the planet. His officers waited for orders. Should we leave, Captain? One asked. Vexlar did not answer right away. He watched the green world turn. No, he said at last. We stay. We wait. They will send a small protest. We will laugh. Then they will learn their place. But deep inside, a small voice whispered. A voice he tried to ignore. What if they do not send a small protest? What if they send everything? On New Horizon, the first pieces of moon rock started to burn in the sky. They looked like shooting stars, but bigger and slower. People stood in the streets and watched. Some held their children close. Some took pictures. Most just waited. Lisa Harper walked outside her building. She looked up at the falling fire. She spoke to no one in particular. You picked the wrong planet, she said. The wind carried her words away, but the stars heard. And somewhere in the dark, human ships began to move. Engines hummed. Jump drives charged. And the quiet years came to an end. The first hours after the strike passed like a storm building far away. On New Horizon, people did not panic. They moved fast and smart. Emergency teams went to every town. They moved children to underground shelters. They covered crops with strong nets to stop falling rocks. Doctors set up field hospitals. Everyone knew the drill. Humans had practiced for disasters many times. In Capital City, Governor Lisa Harper stood in the command center under the government building. Screens showed red lines where debris would hit. Some pieces were small. Some were big enough to make craters. She spoke to her people over every speaker and screen. This is not the end, she said in a clear voice. We are strong. We help each other. Stay calm. Follow your leaders. We will get through this. People listened. They trusted her. Lisa had led them through hard winters and bad storms before. Now she faced something new. But she did not show fear. High above, in the dark between stars, human ships started to wake up. For many years, the Sol Defense Fleet kept most of its power hidden. Big carriers slept in secret bases inside hollow asteroids. Heavy cruisers waited in the cold shadows of the Oort cloud. Fighters stayed in underground hangars on the moon. Humans did not want to scare their neighbors, so they stayed quiet. Now the quiet time was over. Admiral John Carter stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty. The big ship floated near Saturn's rings. Lights glowed soft blue inside. Officers worked at their stations. John looked at the big map on the wall. Tiny dots showed every human ship. One by one, the dots turned green. Status report, John said. Commander Daniel Brooks answered. All first-line ships report ready. Jump drives hot. Second-line carriers launching fighters now. Reserve fleets from Mars and Jupiter are moving to rally points. We can have 60 ships in Epsilon sector inside 40 hours. John nodded. Good. Open a channel to New Horizon. I want to speak to Governor Harper. A moment later, Lisa's face appeared on the screen. She looked tired, but strong. "Admiral," she said, "thank you for coming so fast." "We are coming faster than you think," John told her. "Tell your people to hold on. We will handle the Krell." Lisa gave a small smile. "They already know. The kids are asking when the fleet arrives so they can wave." John almost smiled back. "Tell them soon, very soon." The connection ended. John turned to his crew. "Send the message to every ship. Code Omega, full response authorized, no limits." Across the solar system, engines roared to life. Jump fields opened like bright doors in space. Ships slipped through and vanished. On board the heavy cruiser Independence, Chief Engineer Robert Hayes worked in the engine room. Sweat ran down his face. He checked power levels on the main reactor. The ship was old but strong. Its railguns could throw metal slugs faster than light itself. Robert's team loaded fresh rounds. Each slug weighed as much as a small car. "Everything green?" Robert asked his lead tech. "Yes, Chief. We can fire for days if needed." Robert wiped his hands. "Good, because we might have to." In the tactical room of Sol Command on Earth, Karen Lopez sat at her desk. She was young, with sharp eyes and fast fingers. Screens around her showed every known Krell ship. She ran numbers. She looked at weak points. She made plans. Karen spoke to her team. "The Krell think we are slow. They think we have weak guns. They are wrong. We kept our best weapons quiet, for a reason." One officer asked, "Will we use the Hornets?" Karen nodded. "Yes, first wave. Let them taste what numbers can do." The Hornets were small drones. Each one was the size of a car. They carried smart brains and sharp weapons. Thousands waited in carriers. They were made to swarm, to confuse, to destroy shields. Back in the Epsilon sector, the vanguard of Order still floated near New Horizon. Captain Vexlar watched his screens. His officers looked nervous. "No human ships yet," one said. "Maybe they are afraid." Vexlar clicked his mandibles. "They will come. When they do, we will show them power." But inside he felt doubt. The green planet below looked too calm. No panic signals, no begging messages, just silence. 36 hours after the strike, the first human ship arrived. It was the destroyer Eagle. One small ship against the whole Krell fleet. The Eagle came out of jump right in front of the vanguard. No flash, no warning, just there. The Eagle sent a message on every channel. The voice was calm. It sounded like a normal person reading news. "This is the United Earth ship Eagle. The Krell Dominion has attacked a human world. You caused damage and death. Stand down your weapons. Prepare to be boarded for accountability. You have 10 minutes." On the Vanguard bridge, laughter filled the air. Vexlar laughed loudest. "One tiny ship? This is their answer? Pathetic." He turned to his weapons officer. "Target that ship. Prepare to fire." But before the order went through, space changed. More jumps opened. Not one, not 10, hundreds. Human carriers appeared in a wide circle around the Krell fleet. Heavy cruisers moved into lines. Battleships pushed forward, slow and heavy. Fighters poured out like angry bees. The Eagle was not alone anymore. Vexlar stared. His red eyes grew wide. How many?" "Over 50 capital ships, Captain," the sensor officer said in a small voice, "and thousands of small craft." The bridge went quiet again. Vexlar felt cold. "Open a channel. Tell them we wish to talk." But the human message came back fast. "No more talk. You fired first. Now you face the answer." Small dots detached from the human carriers. They moved fast. Too fast. The Hornets. The first swarm hit the Krell outer ships. Point defenses fired. Lasers flashed. But there were too many Hornets. They dodged. They twisted. They exploded against shields. Cracks appeared in the energy walls. Vexlar shouted, "All ships form defensive sphere. Protect the flagship." The Krell ships moved. They tried to group up, but human cruisers were already closing. Railguns spoke. Silent flashes. Tungsten slugs crossed space at terrible speed. One hit a Krell frigate. The ship broke in half. Fire bloomed in the dark. On New Horizon, people looked up. They saw new stars appear. Bright flashes. Silent explosions. Lisa Harper stood on a balcony with her team. She watched the sky. "It's starting," she said. A young aide asked, "Will we win?" Lisa looked at the lights. "We already have. They just don't know it yet." In space, Admiral John Carter watched from the Liberty. The battle was not big yet. It was careful, precise. Humans did not waste shots. They did not destroy for fun. Daniel Brooks stood beside him. "They are breaking, sir. Their line is folding." John nodded. "Good. Keep the pressure even. No mercy, but no hate. We finish this clean." The Krell had wanted a lesson. They got one. But the real lesson was just beginning. The battle in the Epsilon sector did not explode all at once. It grew like a fire fed by dry wind. Human ships moved with calm purpose. They did not shout or rush. They closed the distance step by step. Admiral John Carter watched from the bridge of the USS Liberty. The big ship stayed back at first. John wanted to see how the Krell fought. He wanted to learn their mistakes. "Launch the second wave of Hornets," he said quietly. Commander Daniel Brooks gave the order. From the carriers, more small drones poured out. They looked like silver insects in the black. Each one carried sensors, small lasers, and one powerful explosive charge. The Hornets did not attack alone. They worked as a cloud. They flew in patterns that confused enemy guns. On the vanguard of order, Captain Vexlar shouted at his crew, "Focus fire! Burn those tiny things!" Krell lasers flashed bright. Some Hornets died in sparks. But for every one destroyed, 10 more took its place. They darted close to the Krell shields. They found weak spots where energy thinned. Then they struck. Small blasts rippled across the shields. Cracks spread like ice on a frozen lake. "Shields at 70%, a Krell officer reported. His voice shook. Vexlar clicked his mandibles hard. "Divert power from engines. Hold the line." But the human fleet did not wait. Heavy cruisers moved forward. The Independence led them. Chief Engineer Robert Hayes stood in the engine room. Lights glowed red around him. He watched the power gauges climb. "Railguns charged," he said into his headset. "Ready on your mark." On the bridge of the Independence, Captain Maria Gonzalez gave the command. "Fire at will. Target their forward batteries." The ship shook gently. Silent streaks left the long barrels. Tungsten rods, each longer than a house, flew faster than sound. They crossed space in heartbeats. The first rod hit the vanguard near the nose. Metal bent and tore. A bright flash bloomed. Air and fire leaked into vacuum. Vexlar felt the deck tilt under his feet. Alarms screamed. Red lights painted the bridge. "Damage report," he yelled. "Forward shields gone. Hull breach on decks 3 through 7. Weapons offline in that sector." Vexlar stared at the main screen. The human ships looked small compared to his flagship. Yet they cut deep. Another rod struck. This one punched through the engine housing. Sparks flew inside the ship. Crew members ran through smoke-filled halls. "Launch all fighters," Vexlar ordered. "We will meet them in close combat." Krell fighters poured from their bays. They were fast and sharp, like knives. They charged the human lines. But human carriers had already released their own fighters. These were not small drones. These were piloted craft. Skilled pilots sat in cockpits. Names like Lieutenant Stephen Grant and Ensign Laura Kim. They flew with focus, only training. The dogfight began. Lasers crossed, missiles bloomed into fireballs. Krell ships twisted and spun. Human fighters matched every move. They used old tricks and new ones. They flew in tight groups. They protected each other. One Krell fighter tried to ram a human carrier. A pair of human fighters cut it down before it reached halfway. On New Horizon, the sky lit up with flashes. People stood on hills and rooftops to watch. The debris from the moon still fell sometimes, but now the real battle drew their eyes. Governor Lisa Harper walked among her people in Capital City. She spoke to families waiting in shelters. "Our fleet is here," she told them. "They are fighting for us. We stay strong down here." A little boy looked up at her. "Will the bad bugs go away?" Lisa knelt. "Yes, they will." In space, the battle turned harder. The Krell tried to regroup. Their ships formed a tight ball around the vanguard. They hoped numbers would save them. Admiral Carter saw the move. "They are protecting their leader," he said. "We take the flagship, the rest will break." Daniel Brooks nodded. "Permission to use the rods from God?" "Granted," John said. "Target the vanguard. Full spread." High above the planet, special platforms waited. These were old satellites turned into weapons. Each one held long tungsten spears. They had waited in silence for years. Now they woke. The platforms released their loads. The rods fell toward the planet first, then curved with small engines. They picked up speed. They glowed red from air friction as they passed the upper atmosphere. Then they turned back toward space, straight at the Krell flagship. The first rod struck the vanguard in the center. The ship screamed metal. A huge hole opened. Lights flickered inside. The second rod hit moments later. It tore through the bridge deck. Vexlar's command chair shook. Consoles exploded. Officers fell. Vexlar clung to a rail. Blood ran from a cut on his head. "Evasive maneuvers," he gasped. But the ship could not move fast anymore. Engines died. Thrusters failed. The vanguard drifted, wounded and slow. Around it, other Krell ships saw the flagship break. Some tried to run. Human destroyers waited on the escape paths. They fired warning shots across bows. The runners stopped. They raised white signals of surrender. Others fought on. A Krell battleship charged the Independence. It fired every gun it had. The Independence answered with a full broadside. Railguns roared. The Krell ship split open like a cracked egg. Fire spread through its hulls. On the ground, Marine teams dropped from orbit. Commander Daniel Brooks led one group. They landed near the main spaceport. Krell troops had tried to take it earlier. Now they hid in bunkers. Daniel's Marines moved careful. They used cover. They talked on short-range comms. Left flank, suppress. Right flank, advance. They threw stun grenades. Smoke filled the air. Krell soldiers fought hard, but humans had better armor and better training. One by one, the bunkers fell quiet. Daniel stood over a captured Krell officer. The alien looked up with tired eyes. "Why?" the Krell asked. "Why so strong?" Daniel looked at him. "Because this is our home. You heard it. We protect what is ours." Back in space, the Vanguard listed badly. Fires burned in open sections. Vexlar sat on the floor of his broken bridge. Most of his crew was gone or hurt. He opened a channel to the human fleet. "This is Captain Vexlar," he said in a weak voice. "We request parley." Admiral Carter's face appeared on the cracked screen. His eyes were calm. "Parley is over," John said. "You fired on our world. You will answer for it." Vexlar lowered his head. "We surrender. The Vanguard is yours." John paused. "Power down all weapons. Open your bays. Our teams will board. Any resistance, and we finish what we started." Vexlar gave the order. Lights dimmed across his ship. The fight was done. On New Horizon, Cheers rose from the streets. People hugged, they cried. They looked at the sky, where flashes still happened, but fewer now. Lisa Harper stood on her balcony. She watched the last Krell ships go dark. She spoke into her comm. "Admiral, thank you." John's voice came back soft. "We are not finished yet, but your people are safe." The battle ended not with a big explosion, but with silence. Silence from broken guns. Silence from drifting ships. Silence that said one thing clear. The Krell had picked the wrong planet, and humanity had answered. The fighting stopped almost as fast as it started. One by one, the Krell ships powered down their weapons. Bright energy shields faded to nothing. Bay doors opened slowly. Small white lights blinked, the old sign of surrender. The once proud fleet now drifted like broken toys in the dark. Admiral John Carter watched it all from the bridge of the USS Liberty. He did not smile. He did not cheer. He just nodded once to Commander Daniel Brooks. "Send boarding teams," John said. "Secure the Vanguard first. Treat their wounded. No harm to prisoners." Daniel gave the orders. Marine shuttles left the carriers. They moved quick and quiet. Inside the broken flagship, human teams found chaos. Smoke filled the halls. Lights flickered. Krell crew lay on the floor or leaned against walls. Some still held weapons, but their claws shook. They dropped them when they saw the humans in heavy armor. Captain Vexlar waited on what was left of his bridge. He stood tall even with cuts on his shell, and one arm hanging limp. When the human Marines entered, he raised his good claw in the air. "I yield command," he said in rough English. "The Vanguard is yours." The Marine leader, Sergeant Paul Rivera, stepped forward. "Hands where we can see them. We will take you to medical." Vexlar looked at the human for a long moment. Then he lowered his claw. "Your people fight like nothing we know." Paul did not answer. He just led the way out. Word of the battle spread fast, faster than light itself. Every species in the galaxy had eyes and ears in space. Trade stations picked up the signals. News drones carried live feeds. On the neutral hub called Nexus Prime, the big assembly hall filled with aliens from 100 worlds. They watched the screens in silence. They saw the Vanguard break apart in slow motion. They saw Krell ships go dark, one after another. They saw human ships stay in perfect lines, never wasting a shot. A tall, feathered ambassador from the Zorath turned to the human delegate. "Your fleet, it appeared from nowhere." Mary Evans, the lead diplomat from Earth, stood calm. She wore a simple gray suit. Her voice stayed even. "We have always been here. We just chose not to show it." The hall filled with low murmurs. Some aliens looked afraid. Some looked thoughtful. A few looked relieved. One small, scaled creature from the outer rim spoke up. "The Krell ruled by fear for centuries. They taxed us. They took our ships. They said we were weak." Mary turned to him. "We do not rule by fear. We protect our own. And we remember who stood by while others suffered." The scaled one nodded slowly. "Then perhaps new friends can be made." Across the galaxy, the story grew. Traders whispered it in dark bars. Pilots told it in cockpits. The day the Krell fired at the wrong planet. The day humans answered with calm, terrible strength. On New Horizon, the cleanup began. Rescue teams searched the ruins where big debris had fallen. They found survivors. They found the lost. Governor Lisa Harper walked the streets every day. She helped carry supplies. She hugged people who cried. She listened when they talked about fear and anger. One old farmer stopped her near a broken field. "They took my moon. They almost took my home." Lisa looked at the sky. Stars shone bright again. They tried. They failed. The farmer nodded. "Because of you. Because of all of you up there." Lisa shook her head. "Because we are together." That is what they did not understand. In the days that followed, messages came in. Not from the Krell, from others. A trade guild from the inner systems offered free shipments of food and building materials. A science council from a distant star sent engineers to help rebuild the orbital defenses. Even some old rivals sent quiet notes. We watched, we approve. The coalition that once followed the Krell started to crack. Smaller species pulled away. They closed their borders to Krell ships. They opened them to human traders. Old treaties were rewritten. New ones were signed in secret rooms. On Nexus Prime, Mary Evans stood before the full assembly. Lights shone on her face. Cameras from every world pointed at her. For too long, she said. Some thought silence meant weakness. Some thought restraint meant fear. We showed the truth. Humanity wants peace. We build, we grow, we share. But when someone attacks our homes, our families, our future, we defend. Without hate. Without mercy for those who choose war. She paused. The hall stayed quiet. We do not want your worlds. We do not want your power. We want to be left alone to live our lives. And we will respect you. She stepped back. No one clapped at first. Then one by one the delegates rose. Not in fear, in understanding. Hands, claws, wings, tentacles clapped together. The sound rolled like thunder. Back in the Epsilon sector, the captured Krell ships floated under guard. Human engineers boarded them. They studied the tech. They learned fast. Some Krell officers talked, not because they were forced, because they wanted to understand. Vexlar sat in a small room on the Liberty. A bandage covered his head. Admiral John Carter sat across from him. No guards stood close. Just two leaders. Why? John asked. Why fire at all? Vexlar looked at the table. We thought you were soft. We thought one shot would make you back away. We read old maps. We saw an empty moon. We did not check deeper. John leaned forward. You hurt people, families, children. Vexlar met his eyes. I know, and I see now. We were the ones who were blind. John stood. You will face trial. Not death. Justice. That is our way. Vexlar nodded slowly. I accept it. Outside the room, Daniel Brooks waited. What now, sir? John looks through the window at the stars. Now we rebuild. We watch. We stay ready. But we do not conquer. We never wanted an empire. Daniel smiled a little. They thought we did. John turned. Let them keep thinking it. Fear can keep peace better than war sometimes. On New Horizon, the rebuilding moved fast. New domes rose over farms. Schools opened again. Children played in parks, where craters once smoked. The small moon was gone, but people looked up at the stars with new pride. One night, Lisa Harper stood on a hill outside Capital City. The sky was clear. She saw the faint lights of human ships still guarding the system. Are the bugs gone forever? Lisa put a hand on the girl's shoulder. Not forever, but they will think twice now. The girl smiled. Because we are strong. Lisa looked at the stars. Because we are human. And in that quiet moment, the galaxy learned a simple truth. Some warnings are better left unfired. Months passed after the battle. The stars looked the same, but everything felt different. New Horizon healed slowly, craters filled with fresh soil. New houses rose where old ones fell. Children ran through streets again. Their laughter mixed with the sound of hammers and machines. The people worked hard. They did not complain. They built stronger than before. In Capital City, Governor Lisa Harper walked through a new park. Trees grew tall already. Flowers bloomed bright. A small statue stood in the center. It showed a simple human hand, holding a shield. No guns, no swords, just protection. Under the statue a plaque read, "For those who answered when called." Lisa stopped and touched the stone. She thought about the families who lost homes, the ones who lost loved ones. She thought about the fleet that came so fast. She felt proud. Not loud pride, quiet pride, the kind that lasts. Far away on the USS Liberty, a formal room waited. White walls, long table, chairs on both sides. Today was the day of surrender. Not a parade, not a show, just truth. Captain Vexlar walked in between two human Marines. His shell still showed cracks from the fight. One arm stayed in a sling. He looked smaller now, not tall and proud like before. His red eyes looked down. Admiral John Carter sat at the head of the table. He wore his normal uniform. No extra medals. Commander Daniel Brooks stood beside him. The room had no crowd, just a few officers, a recorder, and silence. Vexlar stopped in front of the table. He spoke first. "I come to sign the terms," he said. His voice clicked less now. It sounded tired. John looked at him steady. "Sit." Vexlar sat. A document waited on the table. Simple words, clear rules. The Krell Dominion would pay for the damage. They would leave human space forever. Their ships would stay out of the Epsilon sector. No more warnings. No more tests. Humans would have a voice now. A real one. Vexlar read the pages slow. Then he looked up. "You could have destroyed us all," he said. "You did not." John leaned back a little. "We do not destroy for sport. We protect. That is all." Vexlar clicked softly. "We thought you were weak because you did not attack first. We were wrong. Strength is not always loud. Sometimes it waits." John did not answer right away. He thought about the years of peace, the quiet building, the hidden power, the choice to stay calm. "You fired at our home," John said at last. "You hurt our people. Remember that choice. The next leaders after you, let them remember too." Vexlar picked up the pen. His claw shook a little. He signed. The sound of the pen on paper felt heavy in the room. "It is done," he said. John stood. "You will return to your world under guard. Your trial comes later. Fair, open, no secrets. I accept." The Marines let him out. The door closed. Quiet came back. Daniel looked at John. "Do you think they learned?" John watched the door. "Some will, some won't. But the galaxy knows now." Outside the ship, the captured Krell vessels floated in neat rows. Human teams worked on them. They removed weapons. They studied engines. They learned. Not to copy, to understand. Knowledge was power too. Across the galaxy, things changed fast. Old trade routes opened again. Ships from distant worlds came to human ports. They brought gifts, food, tools, ideas. Some came to say sorry for staying quiet when the Krell ruled. Others came to make friends. On Nexus Prime, the assembly hall stayed busy. New rules passed. The Krell lost their top seat. A human chair appeared at the main table. Not big, not special, just equal. Mary Evans sat in that chair sometimes. She spoke little, but when she did, people listened. She talked about peace, about choice, about leaving others alone. Many nodded. Some still feared humans. That was okay. Fear of hurting each other kept the peace sometimes. Back on New Horizon, life grew normal again. Farms produced more food than before. Schools taught new lessons. History class now had a chapter called The Wrong Planet. Children read it and asked questions. One teacher, Mrs. Emily Grant, stood in front of her class. She pointed to a hollow map of the stars. "Why did the Krell lose?" a girl asked. Emily smiled. "They thought power was big ships and loud guns. Humans showed that real power is knowing when not to use them, and using them only when you must." The children nodded. They understood. One evening, Lisa Harper stood on the same hill as before. The sky filled with stars. No more falling rocks, no more flashes of battle, just quiet light. A man walked up. It was Robert Hayes, the engineer from the Independence. He had come down to help rebuild engines for the colony shuttles. "Beautiful night," he said. Lisa nodded. It is. They stood together for a while. Think it will last? Robert asked. Lisa looked at the stars. Peace never lasts forever, but we can make it last longer. By remembering. Robert smiled. We will. Ships still guarded the system. Not many, just enough. The USS Liberty floated high above. Admiral John Carter stood on his bridge, one last time before heading home. Daniel joined him. Order, sir? John looked at the green planet below. Lights from cities glowed warm. Set course for Earth, he said. Our work here is done. The Liberty turned slow, engines hummed soft. The ship slipped into jump. A bright line crossed the dark, then nothing. But on New Horizon, people looked up. They saw the light fade. They knew what it meant. The fleet would come again, if needed. Always. In the years that followed, the story spread. Traders told it on far worlds. Pilots shared it in bars. Leaders mentioned it in speeches. It became a warning, not a threat, a simple fact. Do not fire at a human world, because humans answer, not with anger, not with hate, with strength that waits, with force that ends things clean, with the will to protect what matters. The title stayed the same in every language, simple, clear. They fired a warning at the wrong planet. Humanity responded, and the stars stayed quiet, for now.